Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Understanding CBD. I'm your host, Stephen Wallman from Wallman's Apothecary. Very excited to be here today, and we have another very special guest today. Rita Lynn from Seraphim Holistics will be joining us in just a moment. And let me give you a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. Rita is a master at meditation, and meditation can take many different forms. And a lot of people don't understand a lot of the benefits, how meditation can impact the body, and especially the endocannabinoid system. So we're going to bring Rita on in a moment. We're going to talk about the endocannabinoid system, the wellness of the endocannabinoid system itself, and how that may impact your experience in life. And then we'll also put in some meditation practice to that. And if we're lucky, we'll even get a little bit of an experience of that here, but you'll definitely have something to take with you when we finish. So with no further ado, hello, Rita Lynn.
Hello.
How's it going today?
I am so blessed. Thank you so much for inviting me on. How are you?
Awesome. I'm fantastic. Really, I'm fantastic. We got some really good feedback from previous talks, so I'm really glad you can join us here again this week for a topic I know you're really passionate about: is the endocannabinoid system and meditation.
Yes. I am
So
lit up.
I know I can see it's awesome. So to get it started, I'll sort of kind of guide us through this conversation as best as I can, and starting out with first this talk that we do here on Understanding CBD is for people and professionals, healthcare professionals that really don't know about the endocannabinoid system and how cannabis plays a role, because most people that you come across when you think about cannabis, they're just talking about the high associated with it, which nothing wrong with the high. It is part of the medicine and part of the healing, but sometimes it can also be an escape. But it is also something outside of yourself. And one of the most powerful things that you bring to these discussions every time is how you can heal yourself and become well from the power within. So, since the endocannabinoid system starts within, and it is our own body, can you share with us a little bit about the endocannabinoid system?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It can almost seem a little vague. I can probably sense that when we start to talk about our power within, because there isn't a lot of science that labels things that way. What scientific studies show is actually that we do have self-healing within our DNA. I literally read a study this morning from a nurse practitioner, sent me this study on scientific research showing that our bodies actually have the ability to know which cells are bad and causing harm, and our bodies will do the best it can to readjust, get rid of the harm, and improve wellness. And science is beginning to really prove this as a fact. So when I say power within, if you are spiritual and if you are a believer, then obviously you've got that expanded kind of view of mind, body, and spirit. But say you're a scientist and you're not a believer in those kinds of faith-based beliefs, that's okay too, because when we learn something based on science, there's really no debating the facts of that. And
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
that's true. And the beautiful thing about meditation is it's an experience. So it's not something you're going to read in a book. And even if you did read in a book, it's also not something you have to believe in. You just have to do it, and then you can experience it yourself, right? I mean, that's the
Right.
best way of really learning, is experiencing it.
Yes, and that's definitely true. There's actually research that is also done on the skeptics, and the truth is, you can be 100% skeptic and have no belief at all in meditation, but when you put the practice into place, you're gonna see results, because just like a professional football player plans his practice to play professional football, same thing with anything we do. We're gonna have to put it into a practice and practice. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
point. That's really good point and great advice also. So to demystify a little bit this endocannabinoid system, what does it do in the body? And can you share a little bit about it?
Absolutely. And this is so intriguing because if you're a little bit aware of, cannabis and the ECS, we know that this is a system that was literally most recently discovered by scientists themselves in maybe the late 80s. And so if you imagine that there's a whole slew, generations and generations of physicians and professional scientists that don't never even learned that. So it's a beautiful thing. But then it's also a little challenging because now we're facing, bodies of communities that might be resistant to learning something new. We know there's those personality types that are, I'm educated, I have my master's, and I'm good to go. And so they don't really want to necessarily take the time. But if you just look at some of the studies, loss of your endocannabinoid system balance can cause specific issues. And it's been noted in the peer-reviewed research. For example, mood disorders, anxiety, hyperactivity, depression, these kinds of things have all been shown to be kind of off if your ECS is also not balanced. And it's such a really huge body of evidence and a list of things. I mean, we can go on and on. Drug abuse is higher when your ECS is off, and this is all statistically proven. Impacts on your neurodegenerative kind of issues, like say Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, those kinds of things. Autism. An unmodulated ECS is also, I know I've read over and over, responsible for inflammation, pain, metabolic processes like your GI and your metabolism, even those kinds of things. I mean, there's been products in, I think it was Europe, trying to be marketed as weight loss because it balances your ECS. I'm like, whoa. Now, those were, I want to say it was synthetic cannabinoids, and the study didn't go well. It didn't actually bring about more wellness because of the synthetic mode. But yes, ECS is definitely, there are symptoms of not having a balanced endocannabinoid. And I think that when we look at, Western medicine, and when we go to the doctor, it is a habit to have specialists, right? To have your specialist for, your specialist for pregnancy, labor and delivery. There's a body of doctors that only focus on that. So you go in and say, I'm having trouble getting pregnant. They're going to look at this area. Right? They're going to just look right here. And that's good to have specialists. We need that. But like we said, our body is so capable of doing so much already.
Yeah. And to have that system inside, and it's really difficult to describe, especially to certain scientists or people that are, data driven, when there's no test, right? There's not like, you can't go in and say, what's my endocannabinoid system directly. And it's interesting. It's called the endocannabinoid system, and it's called that because we discovered it through work with cannabinoids. So that's really how we discovered it. We said, hey, obviously the plant is interacting with the body in this way, but the body doesn't make anything that it doesn't need and fulfill from within. So
Right.
that's when they identified the cannabinoids that the body makes.
Absolutely.
And then so these symptoms that you talked about with, and anything from brain disorders to physical pain and inflammation, addiction, which really spills out into relationships and all these other areas of our lives. There's a way that we can tweak and play with this endocannabinoid system without taking something externally. So without, use CBD and cannabis and fruits and herbs are all options and ways that you can, help the endocannabinoid system. But today we wanted to talk about and is how we can use a mindful practice, and you can tell us more about this when impacting this endocannabinoid system. So can you explain a little bit about this part of meditation and endocannabinoid system health?
Yes, I can attempt to. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor or physician. However, I'm a mother and I have 3 children. And so, my first of all, my inclination to learn more about this was when I was struggling, literally, to be a mother to my children, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Um, as a parent, I was really struggling, and I already had so many holistic resources. I had safe cannabis access. I had safe CBD with Wallman's Apothecary. I had, a body of my social network was positive and encouraging. Yet there was still this part of me that was unbalanced, or I would say not homeostatic. I know that sounds scientific, but it takes away the emotion. And it also makes it, where we can understand the ECS brings about homeostasis. And everybody understands what homeostasis means. It's balance. So, meditation can often sound vague, and it can, sound, like one of the things that I've learned is that it's actually raising our state of consciousness. That can also sound vague. But, this is not all that mystical. Science has tested meditators and has shown that before meditation, there is a smaller use of the brain that is lighting up. Whereas during meditation, especially, there is more brain areas lighting up, which means, and it was Norman Rosenthal, has his PhD and he's very studied, reported these results that we can actually increase our brain's potential, and then went on to make sure that it was studied and shown how this actually happens. So now, there's well-controlled statistical evidence showing the benefits of meditation. So I kind of like to always say that first, because if you want more resources, or if you need to read things to learn about it versus just hearing me share, reach out to Stephen with Understanding CBD, or myself, and I can help. But the science is definitely showing improvements in so many areas of our health and wellness. And really, like Stephen said, it takes experiencing it to really realize what it is within you that can be benefited, right? We're all unique. We all have a different chemical and DNA composition. Even though we're all human, we still have uniqueness and differences, and it's mostly within us, right? Like you can see humans all have arms, all have legs, we all have a brain, we all have a heart. But how those work within us is very unique. And you can see this in different personality styles. You can see this in different, rates of humility, how big someone's ego is compared to maybe their heart. Like you can see evidence, and I call it your state of consciousness. You can see these results, and it's undebatable. It really is.
Yeah, and you bring up a lot of good points here. And one of the ways to experience this without going into a deep discussion or even experience is if you just say, don't think about your left hand. You can't not think about it. So when the saying, which I love, is where the mind goes, the body flows. So if you think about your left hand for a second, you can even consider the energy that is available in your left hand. So your mind is thinking about your left hand. It wasn't thinking about your right foot. So what was going on over there is, your mind is focused, and you can focus your energy and attention on certain things. And that is a really strong example of just a simple idea. But imagine if you're able to spend some time with Rita through this practice, what you can accomplish, right? Focusing on intention and things that, identified, hey, I have these struggles. And there are different things, whether it's mental or physical pain or trauma or stress, whatever's coming in on your life, you can use some of these tools that Rita's going to talk about to get through that. So I'm excited to hear a little bit about, some of the strategies. So, we understand that if, we have some struggles in our life, and it's everyone has them. I mean, some stress is good. It helps us grow, and some stress is not so good because it sort of break us down. So how do you get somebody started? Because, I hear a lot of people say, I can't sit for 5 minutes. there's no way, or I can't, there's no, I'm too busy. My mind is always working. I'm thinking, because I'm this incredible business person, my mind's always strategizing. I can't, relax for a minute. I'm too important, because if I relax for a minute, the whole world's going to just crumble behind me. And I know how it feels for a lot of times, because at one point I felt that way. So I really know what it feels like. Where's a good place to start? And meditation is also vague, so maybe you can bring us some practical information here.
Definitely, definitely. And this was me indeed. In the beginning of my beginning to practice, I definitely had that mindset of I've got too much going. I can't stop, because all the dominoes are going to fall. For sure, it really took guidance, having somebody to remind me that I can do things I think I can't do, and that practice, again, we go back to the professional football player. Practice really can do a lot, and just beginning a practice is key. Being able to say, yes, I've done that, versus I've only heard about it. So there's some logistics. You can go on YouTube. You can find my YouTube at Rita Lynn 420. And I do offer free guided meditations every day on YouTube for you to access. And that's completely free. It's community service. I am reading A Course in Miracles this year for the guided meditations. And so that is just something I offer as a community service, because, when you talk about relief and when you talk about resources, then you have to talk about access. So I think that, I'm kind of in that Elon Musk, where he said that education really should be free. It really can be free, because everyone has access to learn pretty much anything now, right? With the internet and technology. So I'd like to start with that. There's a ton of other, YouTube pages with guided meditations. But again, what we're doing with that is giving you a dependence for YouTube. And personally, I don't like the commercials. Stop telling me what my body's, that there's commercials. So anyways, I like to start with something that really creates independence and really helps you find something that's different than what you've already been doing. So it starts with an in-person meeting, and we just meet up and chat in my office for a few minutes. And then based on where, who I meet with is at, we will decide on a guided meditation or a mantra meditation. And so it's really clear. Guided is where you're listening and being guided, and mantra is where you're given a personal mantra or a general mantra, and then you use that as your vehicle in your meditation. So therefore, you're not dependent on anything. You can access your meditation and your peace of mind anytime, anywhere, no matter what. And so that's what I like to do. I like to help people find freedom for their relief and for their resources. So we tend to fall into the mantra meditation a lot with my new meditators, because even though you think you can't sit in silence for 60 seconds, if you have someone minding the time and you're allowed to take that rest and take it easy and just take that 60 seconds of silence, it's easier. It's definitely easier, because there is somebody basically holding your hand, guiding you along the way, even if it's in silence. But then that doesn't create a dependence on me. You don't have to come back to my YouTube every day. You can start as soon as you wake up in your silent 60 seconds. And that's not a lot of time, to give to yourself for self-care. I do consider meditation self-care. And the reason I consider it that is because when we meditate, we meet a part of ourself, I believe, that we haven't met before. And so what better way to take care of yourself than to learn more about yourself? So if you're open, we can actually do a minute, 60 seconds of silence here today.
Oh, wow. That's great. We can actually do that today. That's awesome. So for this 60-second meditation or moment of silence, or 60 seconds of silence, is there anything that, so you'll keep the time for this. What, because you can't stop your mind from thinking. What should we be doing during this 60 seconds?
We should keep it easy. So the number one goal in meditation is that it is easy. So we just keep it easy. I can give a general mantra here that anybody could use. This is the mantra I started with. It might be familiar to some of you if you're familiar with Ayurvedic traditions and the yogic traditions. But we can use Om, which is, you can say it within your mind. You're not going to repeat this out loud. This is within, and it's O-M, and that you would just repeat that as as I'm holding the 60 seconds for you. And another thing that I would recommend is closing your eyes, because we have a habit of focusing on what we can see and what we can hear, but we all know there's a side of us within ourselves. And again, we might call it the power within. We might call it our DNA. Our ancestors literally live within us. So, but you want to be comfortable, and if possible, eyes closed. And then during the 60 seconds, you just take it easy. You just repeat your mantra within your mind. And when a thought arises, or when a feeling arises, because it will, repeat your mantra. It's really that simple. And you're just repeating your mantra through the 60 seconds. Now, your brain is going to tell you some things like, what are you doing? This is not what you normally do. There's other things to do. The phone is ringing. Rita is, come on, what, seriously. But once you experience it, you might find something new.
That's awesome. Okay, so if you're not already in a comfortable position, get yourself in a comfortable position. You can always pause this if it's on a replay. Get yourself in a safe place where you're comfortable, where you're not going to be interrupted. Now, we're talking about 60 seconds here, so it's not a long period of time.
Right.
If you have headphones on, that's fine. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to take myself. I'm going to be doing it the same thing here, and I'm gonna go get myself in a quiet place where I already am, so I'm fine. And then Rita, I'm gonna just hand it over to you, and then when you're finished, we'll come back on, and we'll I'm gonna participate as well. We'll be able to talk about what we just experienced. And so then the thought is in the mind is I'm just gonna focus on Om.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say it like Om, and just think of it like I'm banging on a drum or something like that. And that's what I'll be doing for the next 60 seconds. So I'm going to drop off here and let you get us started.
Thank you, Stephen. All right. This is nothing hard. This is going to be easy. This is going to be effortless. I will mind your 60 seconds. I will keep track of the time so that we don't sit here for 5 minutes, because in meditation, it's been known that you can kind of lose track of time. You can lose a sense of time, which can be a good thing and a peaceful thing. So let's practice. So again, your mantra is Om. You can repeat that within your mind however you wish, fast, slow, it doesn't matter. But that is your vehicle to take you into your meditation and into your practice. So we're going to start with that, and make sure you're comfortable and close your eyes. And I'm going to start the time now. All right. Begin to come out of your meditation. And by that, I mean you can open your eyes, look at your room, take a deep breath. After meditation, you just want to be sure you don't jump up and get back into reality very quickly, because it has been shown that it can cause such a deep state of relaxation that we can sometimes be off balance if we try to stand up too soon. So you want to gently come out of your meditation, and the longer you're in your meditation, we're starting with 60 seconds today, but you can go up to 5 minutes. I sit now after many years of meditating for 20 minutes at a time. And then I come out, I take 3 minutes to actually wake back up and get my body back into the third dimension. So I hope this was an enjoyable experience. It's something easy and simple for you to do anytime.
Yes, and I really want to get some feedback from others that have tried this when you do follow along, to just see what comes up for you during that 60 seconds. Does it seem like longer than 60 seconds? Does it seem like shorter than 60 seconds? Was it like, oh my goodness, that was it? That's 60 seconds? Or was it like after like a few seconds, where you're like, oh my God, how long is this going to take? And
Yeah.
so, yes, the feedback was great. Thanks for guiding us through that, Rita. I really appreciate it. And I was just, imagining that someone that would come onto the live stream just as we're we're sitting there being.
Yes. They fell asleep.
Yeah, because they say, obviously silence isn't good for live broadcast. But look, we're doing a lot more here than
We might have lost some of them. We might have lost some.
we might have lost some people. But look, this is what it's about, and I appreciate it. Very grateful to you for joining us, putting this out there. It's really helpful, and we'll come back with some more, and hopefully we get some good feedback. And get you back on here hopefully next week with another topic that people can help and really experience on how to help themselves and other people around them feel better.
Yes, absolutely. That's the best. That's the goal. Good quality of life, feel good, live your life.
Fantastic way to end this. Thanks so much.